Hey you guys, okay, so today I'm here to talk to you guys about why I choose to not stand during the national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance. Actually, I've never really stood for the Pledge of Allegiance. When I was like in 2nd or 3rd grade, my mom wrote a note to my teacher and said, Bella is not allowed to participate during the Pledge of Allegiance. So yeah, it's been something that I'm not new to this, not standing during the national anthem and Pledge of Allegiance type of, ceremonies. And at the time when I was young, it made me feel a little awkward because, everyone else is standing, I'm sitting, and I'm feeling a little like an outsider. But I'm so glad my mom did that because it taught me to not just go along with what everyone else does. Even if it seems like everyone else does it except for you, you still shouldn't do it unless it's something that you feel is right for you, And I mean, we didn't celebrate certain holidays, we didn't eat certain foods, there's lots of stuff that other people got to do that I didn't get to do, and it kind of made me feel a little outsiderish. But I'm so glad she instilled in me to be a leader and to go against the masses for what you believe is right. So thank you, Mom, for that. Also, when I was young, a couple years, I talk about this sometimes, a couple years of my life, I went to an all-white school. So I was the only black kid in my class, and my brothers too, and we experienced like racism at a young age. Like, I remember kids saying like, I don't want to play with you because you're black and stuff like that, and just feeling like an outsider kind of. And my brother said he remembers people calling him like porch monkey. He didn't know what that meant, but now looking back, he's like, wow, like that's crazy that, this is like elementary school. This is not like, this is little young kids saying these things and the N-word and stuff, and being like, made me realize that I was different, and that, it shines some light on how the world is. So many people just stand because they think, oh, it's a ritual, or it's just, it's just what you do. And you should never do things just because it's what people are doing or what they tell you. You should just do it because, it's disrespectful not to them or whatever. Like, I think that's a part of living a purposeful life, is knowing why you do things and doing things because it means something to you, not just doing what everyone else does. And just growing up and just seeing how the world works, it's pretty clear, really. And hearing stories, like recently there was a story about some teenage white boys tried to lynch a biracial 8-year-old boy. This story really got to me, so it really broke my heart. And I know this type of stuff happens, but it's seeing who is the president right now, and the hate that he has given a voice to. It's crazy seeing it, especially with kids. Their parents, they've heard this at home. That's why, little kids don't just think, let me go and lynch somebody. Obviously, this is something they were taught. So, anyway, there was an 8-year-old boy, a biracial boy, and some teenage boys tied a noose around his neck and threw him off of a picnic table. And the police in that county put out a statement saying that we need to protect these children. And they weren't talking about the child who these teenagers were attempting to kill. They were talking about the teenagers who were attempting to kill this little kid. They said a mistake that you make when you're young should follow you your whole life. They're trying to protect kids who try to murder another kid. And this is why I don't stand. Thank God the little boy, if you guys haven't heard this story, the little boy lived. He got free, thank God. But he swung a couple times, they said, and somehow he was able to get free. There's pictures of how his neck looks. And it just pissed me off so bad when I heard that story. And it's just it just reinforced the reason why I don't stand for these national anthem. I'm not pledging to any flag or standing and saying that this is the land of the free, the home of the brave, and all that nonsense, because until our lives are worth something in this country, I'm not standing for that. You want me to stand and do some kind of pledge to this government when they do things like this, when they try to protect people who do stuff like this to black people, because the lives of black people aren't as valuable. And I see this time and time again, and it's just no, I'm not gonna stand for this. And they act like lynching and certain things like this are so much in the past. It wasn't long ago that these things happened. People don't see that people are still alive today who participated in these lynchings, who remember seeing lynchings and people hanging from trees and, you know, these strange fruits that they talk about and stuff. Like, this was not centuries and centuries ago. We are in this century. We are in, people, like I said, are alive today that have witnessed these atrocities, and they expect us to just, you know, put it in the past. And I'm not saying a lot of things haven't changed, but not enough for me to feel like this is the land of the free and the home of the brave, and, you know, we're all equal and we're all one nation under God and all this. No, I'm not buying that. Kids, some damn near adults, let's say, these teenagers, 14 and up, are trying intentionally, and they were also saying that they were like saying racial slurs, calling him the N-word and spitting at him and stuff, and take a little kid on a table and push him off and try to lynch him. And you're telling me that they deserve to be protected? Their identities are not going to be given because it shouldn't affect their whole lives? Like, are you serious? They protect their own in this way that we don't even get the benefit of the doubt. Little kids, a little 12-year-old, I'm from Cleveland, and a 12-year-old boy in Cleveland had a toy gun and got shot down, no questions asked.
17th, radio, order for relief. 1529. Radio, shots fired.
And then we go to another situation where a white young man, I don't even want to call him that, it sounds too respectful, but he raped a girl who was passed out by a dumpster and gets like a few months in jail and slap on the wrist. And they say this boy was, you know, grew up in a nice family and had such a good upbringing that we need to protect him. Like, how does that make any sense? Why? If someone had every opportunity, every good opportunity in life, every privilege, and they do something like that, they should not be protected. Why? I've read stories about kids, like a 14-year-old kid who robbed someone because he was poor, he had no clothes, they wore the same thing every day, and he got tried as an adult, went to adult prison for 9 years for that. And they didn't care about protecting him and think that, you know, he didn't have any privileges or advantages in life. You know, let's help him. No. Their first thought was lock him up and throw away the key, and we don't care what happens to him. He's worthless. And that's why I can't stand for the Pledge of Allegiance or the national anthem. There's still a great imbalance and injustice and a different value on this life versus this life. You know, there's not like all lives are equal. That's why they say Black Lives Matter, and it's not Black Lives Matter more. Whoever put that more on there is just stupid, because it's, if anything is after that, it's also, or two, Black Lives Matter as well. That's what they're trying to say, that our lives have value too. And, you know, these things show that our lives aren't valued in the same way as their lives. And that's why we have to say that. You know, people are dying. People are being killed, and without consequence. Without consequence. Unarmed people are being killed, and just people who don't deserve to die. The punishment should fit the crime. And that goes in terms of, too, when someone does something really bad, they should get a punishment that is deserving. They shouldn't get a slap on the wrist just because they're from a good family, they have money, or they're a certain race. No, you should pay for what you did. And it just makes me so sick and so upset when I see this protection of them when they don't deserve it, or seeing us not be protected when we deserve to be protected. The neo-Nazis and the Klan and the march that they had recently, and the fact that the president, the head of the government right now, had the nerve to say many sides.
This egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides. On many sides.
There's bad on many sides, and the fact that he's not impeached for even having people in the Oval who have any affiliation with the KKK and stuff like that. Like, I cannot. This has been in hiding for so long that, you know, people weren't seeing it because it wasn't as obvious and as blatant, and people weren't as bold as they are right now. And I'm glad that people are getting to see that these people exist. And if you weren't on this side of it, you didn't get to see it. It wasn't directed at you. And if you didn't have people around you who were blatantly saying it, sometimes you would have no idea of it. But being on this side of it, being a black person, being, you know, a person of a minority group, you get to see things that other people don't get to see. You get to tell sometimes that people just don't like you for no good reason but because you're black. And I'm glad that a lot of white people are outraged. That's what's making me happy. And they're actually, you know, kneeling to in certain things. And it's making me like, good. I'm glad you guys can see. I'm glad you guys see the hypocrisy and the hate and the injustice in this country. There's no way I can stand and put my hand on my heart for this country who is still, there's so much systematic racism embedded in. I cannot. Like Colin Kaepernick, they want to crucify him. They want to treat him as if he like broke some kind of law. Like they are angry, like seriously outraged because he chose to have a peaceful protest to exercise his First Amendment right. They are like messing with his like livelihood, like making sure that he doesn't get work. You know, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. And all these racist KKK neo-Nazi types were marching in the streets unpeacefully. And where's the consequences? Are they all losing their jobs? They better, because if you guys want to punish Colin Kaepernick for protesting, then you should punish them. Because some of them I did hear got fired and stuff, which is good, which they should. Because if Colin Kaepernick doesn't get to be in the NFL, then they shouldn't be able to work whatever job they work in.
You're fired.
Freaking ridiculous. And just a year and so ago, Donald Trump was questioning everything Obama did. His job was never at risk, but he wants to put people's jobs at risk when they are against him. It's so hypocritical.
ESPN commentator Jamel Hill criticizing the president on your private Twitter feed, then that's a fireable offense too.
We're not allowed to question anything.
Stevie Wonder took a knee on his own time, in his own show. And even then, a former Republican congressman tweeted, Stevie Wonder takes a knee for the anthem during a concert. Another ungrateful black multimillionaire.
We're just supposed to just sit there and just accept everything and just, you know, like, what kind of sense does that make? And us doing it peacefully and just showing that something's wrong and it's not okay. But for people to march with torches and run people down in the streets, that's somehow...
And you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people.
It's disgusting. Like, sometimes when I think about it, I'm just disgusted by some of the stuff I see in this country and the imbalances and the way these conservatives act. And, you know, it's funny that they're called conservatives because they're anything but. They are just hateful and just the stuff that comes out of their mouths. Like, I hope this gives you guys some insight on why I cannot, I refuse to, I will not, cannot stand for the Pledge of Allegiance or the national anthem until I see, maybe when I start seeing more balance, more, you know, when the punishments start to fit the crime, when it's not based on, you know, race or your economical status, you know, your class. Like, when these things change, when it's more of an even playing field, that's when I will think about it. But until then, good luck, because it's not gonna happen. Like, literally or figuratively, I won't stand for these things that this country does and these things that this country thinks are just and are okay, and they're not. They're not. You know, I wrote a poem. It's probably like 2 years ago I wrote this poem. It's called Just Ice, and it's about the injustices that we as black people, as lesser people, are treated. And it's called Just Ice. I was gonna read it, but you know what, I might just go ahead and read it to you guys. Well, basically, I was in a courtroom and I noticed the word justice and that the spelling of it was just ice. And it hit me and I was just like, wow, like, that's deep, because this judicial system can be so cold to some of us. And, you know, I just thought that was an interesting, you know, I kind of played on that, on the word on the word justice. And you know what? I'm gonna read it for you guys. All right, so this is just ice. Just ice for all. That's all you get. See, there are two judicial systems, and ours is cold. Our judge has liquid hydrogen in his veins, an iceberg for a heart, and a jury of Eskimos who are always ready to rule in a court that we never get to make it to. It's just ice. You gotta read between the lines sometimes. It's the only way I can see how a human life can be valueless. Now I know why my fingertips are always a little bit cold. And they wonder why I won't stand up and put my hand on my heart for you. No. Hell no. You can look, you can stare, you can call it treason. You can lock me up and throw away the key because that's what you want for all of us anyway. Or to shoot me down like a dog in the streets because in some way your peace of mind and comfort was compromised by my presence. I guess my swag was just too much for you. It's just ice for us. Always on the rocks, always with a layer of frost, and they tell us just chill. How can I do anything but? The Cold War is here and we are on the front lines. And when you're dealing with just ice, there's always a loophole, always a winter vortex to find a way to justify the lynching. But now we're not hanging from trees, we're lying in the streets, drowning in our own blood because anything in my hand looks like a gun to you. My wallet-shaped gun. And they say innocent until proven guilty, but they shoot to kill and corpses can't speak. So maybe not guilty, but dead nonetheless. With no consequences, no repercussions, nothing. But high fives and praises for those who actually believe that somehow he got what he deserved. So the next time they tell you to stand up and make that pledge, don't you dare. And tell them that you will only stand for something that will give you a little bit more than just ice. All right, you guys. So until next time.